ended up leaving the Air Force, was going to become a physiotherapist. That didn't work out. I couldn't get to a school close enough, ended up at massage. That was really cool, spiritual awakening through that, but
Hello, ladies, and welcome to the show. It's so good to see you today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. Looking forward to this.
Absolutely. I am so excited you guys are here. And I think we initially met when I was on your podcast, which I'd love for you guys to mention towards the end when we talk about what things you guys are up to. But I always just find it fascinating when I come across people in this quantum realm of how they got into this. So I don't know who wants to start, but maybe you guys could just each give your story about how you came across this stuff.
Laura, you can go. Go
Okay.
for it.
Did I come across in the quantum realm? Okay. I was already a holistic nutritionist and I had been for 6 or 7 years. I was in the Air Force before that. Yeah, interesting journey. Military family, lived all around the world. I joined the Air Force just because it was the adventure I wanted. It had nothing to do with wanting to be an engineer. I ended up taking engineering for a couple of years at military college and then ended up in physics and physical oceanography. And the reason I mention that is just because there's a tie-in to quantum biology down the road. And then ended up in telecommunications only because I had a knee injury and I wasn't able to become an air navigator, which is what I really wanted to do. And I wanted to be operational, flying, and the sexy part of being in the Air Force. It was only brand new to women at that time. I was, lucky at the timing that I got into the Air Force. But unfortunately, with this knee injury, they wouldn't delay a year for my knee to heal. I ended up in telecommunications. Didn't love it, but again, it ties later into quantum biology because when I was holistic, I finally left the Air Force, was not my passion, the telecommunications, but I loved the team. I loved the teamwork. I loved the esprit de corps, loved the lifestyle. I married a fighter pilot. We ended up in crazy northern postings with lots of snow and lots of winter and had 2 kids. Then started to have some health issues. Kind of thought I was the picture of health and all of a sudden have my first baby and find out yeah, I'm pretty sick. I've got potentially an autoimmune disease with my thyroid. Anyway, that really started the whole journey. I ended up leaving the Air Force, was going to become a physiotherapist. That didn't work out. I couldn't get to a school close enough, ended up in massage. That was really cool, spiritual awakening through that. But I also didn't, my body didn't love it, I'll be honest. And so I was still searching. And then when I heard about holistic nutrition, that seemed like the fit. And I was a natural for it. I was interested in food and healing. And then I noticed it was like missing this piece called holistic nutrition. They weren't teaching about what I thought were really important impacts on the body, which was what I now call non-native electromagnetic frequencies. And so I built a workshop on, what Wi-Fi and smartphones and all these things I thought were doing to the body. And then I just kept creating more and more workshops and delving more into the subject. Discovered Jack Cruz somewhere along the way, started reading his blogs, every podcast I could listen to, and I'm still geeking out on his stuff because I learn every time he writes something or opens his mouth. He's truly a huge mentor of mine. And then COVID happened and we were kind of isolated at home. And the now founder of the Institute of Applied Quantum Biology, I still can't remember how I saw a post that she did or it was something written came through and said the course was starting. If this is interesting to you, then, follow this link. Well, I did. And I ended up having a 15-minute quick conversation with Meredith. And yeah, from that, 2 days later, I started the course. It was day one of the course and I fell in love with quantum biology. That is the perfect fit for me because so many of the aspects that were missing in health and medicine I found there. And I then incorporated that into my holistic nutrition practice. So like I already was testing people's homes for electromagnetic frequencies and teaching them about light. And I was so frustrated talking to them about food only because to me, we needed to sort all these other lifestyle issues and get their nervous systems, in order. And yeah, and so since then, I guess I'll stop there and let Andeea, because I won't talk about the podcast and where the journey has continued. But yeah, Andeea, I'm curious to see what you have to say.
Yeah, so mine kind of starts with my recovery story. So I used methamphetamines for 12 years of my life. and it was in a co-occurring way with bulimia. And long story short, I got into recovery, and now I've been in recovery. This year it'll be 17 years. And that's really, it was the start of my recovery, really. So I had a spiritual awakening, but I really didn't know it was happening. I ended up I was a makeup artist and realized, hey, what am I going to be when I grow up? And I was already grown up in my head because I was in my early 30s, and I went back to school. And so all I had was my GED. I actually didn't ever think I could go to college because I had a GED. I just didn't know what I didn't know. So a friend kind of was talking to me one day, and I was like, I can go to community college? And so I did. So I went to community college, and it was just for liberal arts. And then I got into my bachelor's program, which I actually wanted to study biology, but all of the sciences were full and you had to declare a major. And I wanted to be a physical therapist. So they were like, listen, go over to psychology. They'll take you and you can still take all the classes. So that's what I did. I got all my PT recs in line, but I graduated as a psychology major. And it's just funny how the universe works, right? So my dad ended up passing away, and so I was out in New York when I was doing school, and my dad passes away. I moved back home to Minnesota, and I actually couldn't do physical therapy in Minnesota because in Minnesota the requirements were a little bit different. So I sought out counseling, and I knew that I knew about one place that I would possibly know where I could go to school for counseling. So I call them, and they're actually like, "Oh, well, we have a graduate school." So I ended up going to graduate school where I work at Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation. And yeah, I actually didn't know about the rooms of recovery until I was 7 years in recovery. And by rooms, I mean like Narcotics Anonymous groups and things like that. Places I could go where people were like me. They were in recovery. I thought I was terminally unique for a really long time. Like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one who's used meth as a diet pill and almost died. No, a lot of people have done the same exact thing. And I just didn't know because I was never surrounded by those people. And I finally got to talk to these people, and then and then I was thrown right into the world of recovery, and I didn't even really know the term. I started my master's degree in addiction counseling, and all I wanted to do, I was addicted to learning about addiction. All I wanted to do was help people with addiction, and I did that, and I worked as a counselor for 5 years and I still work for the organization but doing some other things. And during this whole time I have this mindset of I need to heal myself. I'm broken, like I don't feel right still. So about 6 years ago, I was introduced to a woman. Her name's Laura, and a different Laura than who's on the screen. She was a toxin-free coach, and she taught me all about, like, so I kind of say like my gateway into quantum biology was plastic. So I started like taking out all the plastic out of my house and learning a little bit more about natural foods, and just more like I always was drawn to natural, but I didn't have anybody teaching me about it. It was just like little tiny things that would get put into my awareness. And that actually led me to, I started following Sarah Kleiner because I was starting to eat, like, I started to eat keto. I actually, when I was in recovery originally, I was a vegan. And then that just led me to like I was searching for the way I was supposed to eat, right? So I could heal my body because I still felt like something was off, and something most certainly was off. And I didn't know it at the time, but it was my circadian rhythm was really off. And I had done a lot of mitochondrial damage to myself using methamphetamines for so long. And it took my body a long time to just really feel like online again. And one of the things Laura had taught me was that it was important to sleep in a blacked out bedroom. So I had blacked out my bedroom, and that really, really helped. And then just other little tricklings started to happen. I learned about blue blocking glasses and started wearing blue blocking glasses at work, and basically was introduced to more quantum people as I got into that space. And then eventually I found the Quantum Biology Collective, and right away I was like, I have to take this. I have to take this course. Something was drawing me to it, and I felt like I didn't know it at the time, but I needed to share with other people who are in recovery this perspective on health. And so that's really my mission now, is to share with as many people in recovery as possible about addiction through the lens of quantum biology. So that's kind of how I ended up finding it, just through my own healing journey, kind of naturally. I did fall down the quantum rabbit hole, thud. I just went straight down.
Well, what I find very interesting is that you both had mentioned that you had gone through a spiritual awakening. And for me, my own cancer journey prompted my spiritual awakening. And I'm wondering, do you guys think that there's a correlation between spiritual awakening and then all of a sudden go down these rabbit holes of finding out the truth?
No, I don't think there's any coincidence at all.
Oh,
It's quantum entanglement at its finest.
Yes.
yeah. I mean, I think we, I'm just there's so many parts of the spiritual journey, but I think they've come in all the hardships. Like the first one I had was when it was after I injured my knee at Royal Roads Military College, closer to you, Andeea, out in Victoria, British Columbia, and it was the last military bastion in in Canada at the time. It was the last place to allow women. So I was actually in that first class of girls, which was quite something. And here I am injured and I'm not pulling my weight. I'm not doing the drill and all all the responsibilities. So they let me stay a summer there to recover from, I had a very simple knee injury, surgery. And it was that summer I had kind of my own, because I had time alone. I had time alone to think. And I healed. I healed in so many ways. Like I healed my body. By the end of the summer, I was a triathlete. People didn't
Wow.
recognize me. Yeah, but when they came back, what happened to you? But it was so much more than that. I had so much time alone to think. And I remember there was a song, Steve Winwood. Do you remember him? Steve Winwood. He had a song called Higher. I want to call it. I think it was Higher Love. Higher Love. And I remember I wrote in 19. Gosh, I graduated in 88, so it would have been the summer
I
of,
think I know what song you're talking about.
yeah, 87. And I think I wrote out the whole lyrics on my wall, handwritten. This was before, we didn't have this, internet. And I had to listen to the song painfully write down over and over. And I remember those, I don't know, there's something about those lyrics. And that, I always look back at that as one of my, I, I guess it was a hero's journey. And it's so funny because
Yes.
Andeea knows this so well. Like this year, it's like I've been called again to do this.
Mm.
And yeah, I got slammed with another injury. The universe did it again to tell me something or wake me up and have a spiritual journey. But I found myself again with more time. I had a lot of time to myself because I couldn't move, and I was isolated quite a bit, and a lot of time to think. And yeah, yeah, definitely spiritual awakening, 100%.
So, Laura, for those who don't know what a hero's journey is, would you mind just giving a brief explanation of what it is?
Yeah, actually, I'm not the expert on this, but someone just told
Oh,
me I should look it up. It was a film friend of mine who's a film producer and an actor and a pilot, fighter pilot. He was telling me, Laura, for our podcast, Andeea, we're supposed to all look up the hero's journey because each podcast should almost be a hero's journey. So we have to look that up.
I love
But
I
that.
know
it's
that it's the
used.
Joseph Campbell book.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's used in songwriting and movies
Hmm.
and anyway, like my understanding is, you know, y- sometimes I don't know, I just feel like you get presented these really big challenges and it's what you do with those challenges. Do you just play the victim and oh woe is me and everybody save me, or do you say, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I grow from this? And at the end of the day, you almost look back and think, right. That was meant to happen,
You
right? Because
try.
I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a newer, better person for having gone through, yeah, that experience. India, do
Yeah.
you more?
Well, I no, I cannot explain the hero's journey. I do know recovery is like a hero's journey as well.
Right.
Like I conceptualize it in my head just as like, you have your main character and you have other characters in the story and you watch the person, literally, go through their journey. And there's going to be ups and downs, but there is so much more to it than that. Like, please don't take that definition as
So we
that.
we
That's what
actually,
I can say right now that's coming to me.
yeah. Yeah, we actually use it as a concept like in with homeschooling with our children. And yeah, so it's kind of neat that this is all coming back around because there's going to be things you're good at and then there's going to be things that you're not so great at that you're working at. But at the end of the day, the journey is, it's not actually the destination, it's the journey and it's the ups and downs. And what's coming to me as I'm explaining this is, I don't know if you guys have seen the reel on Instagram, but it's this straight line with a ball, like a shelf, and then there's another one that goes ups and downs. And what they do is they drop the ball on both of them, the straight one and then one that has these waves, and they drop the ball at the same time. And actually, the one that goes up and down builds up more speed and ends up reaching the end of the ramp than the one that just has a straight line. And I just thought that
Interesting.
was such a beautiful visual representation of what I consider to be the hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
Well, I know looking at, I mean, Andeea and I have come together for the Quantum Healthy podcast, and that's been a journey of itself, is just our own quantum entanglement. And, in my little world, in the military background, holistic nutrition, I don't, haven't met many people that have been through what Andeea's been through. And I'm just fascinated with her hero's journey. I'm going to make myself cry here. But yeah, I mean, she's like what she has risen from is truly inspirational, and I'm 100% behind her in wanting her to share her insights and the things that she's figured out with adding in quantum biology. I am just like, if I can do anything to get that message out, because she really is impacting people's lives through her own hero's journey. Yeah,
Thank you, Laura.
you're welcome. I got a tear.
Appreciate.
So sweet.
Yeah, so for me the spiritual piece probably happened. So I grew up Mormon, and I was very rebellious, obviously. So I started using probably when I was, well, I started using hard drugs, like my drug of choice, which was methamphetamines, when I was 17. So you can imagine my rebelliousness, right? Of any, it wouldn't have mattered what religion I grew up in. I would have had the same kind of like rebellion, right? And I I just was in this crowd of people that was like, God doesn't exist, or they were Satan worshipers, or like they were just people who were more negative mind, right? And they didn't believe. They were atheist and agnostics, let's just call it that. So I just, I wanted to fit in. I was bullied in school. I wanted these people like me. Yes, that's what I believe too. Because you're going to accept me if I believe these things. So for a long time, I just ran with that crowd, and I always knew there was something off. Like I didn't really believe what they believed in, but it's not like it was talked about and analyzed or anything. It was just like that was just so they could be rebellious. But I remember when I was in it was my bachelor's degree program, and I was studying psychology and having to look at research. And I had never read research before, and I knew what it was or whatever, but started reading research and just getting really fascinated with it and being like, wow, this is proof that this is what we know. Like, this is the truth. I remember being fascinated with learning the truth and reading these research studies, and I wanted to be a part of it. I excelled in statistics and all of those things, and really, really, I truly know that was actually the beginning of my spiritual awakening. It was right there. And my mom had given me a book so I moved to New York. I did a geographical change, and I don't recommend anybody do that when you get sober. That was just my experience. And so I move. My mom sends me with this book. It was called The Four Agreements.
Oh,
Oh, I
And
love that book.
yeah, and I didn't read the book. Of course, I didn't read the book. The book sat. I always had the book. Didn't read the book. I finally read the book, and yeah, it was that also set me down a self-help journey. And I didn't know it was happening. It was happening little bits at a time, but all these pieces started to come together. And then I started meeting like the right people. And I was at school wise. I was actually at the time in a very unhealthy relationship at that time. So that was happening. School was my reprieve. Like I loved being at school because I was safe. That's where I was safe. And so the people that I was being introduced to, like the professor who she had planted a seed. She said, "Have you ever thought about being a counselor? You'd be a really good counselor." And so like these little things, they all fed into that spiritual journey. One thing I know is that it is hard to teach people. It is not easy teaching people faith. And it doesn't matter what you believe in, what you have faith in. Like if it's what your higher power can be, whatever it is to you. But I truly do believe that I believe in all the higher powers because I understand quantum.
Yes.
Like I don't need to put a name on it. I can call it God, I can call it universe or source, whatever comes out, like that's what I'll call it if I'm
Love it.
telling a story or whatever. But that is truly what guided me to where I am now. Percent. I had to have that had to come back into my life, some kind of a belief system to anchor me. So I had faith. I knew that I was being guided. I also had some crazy experiences with psychics and other little things that happened along the way that I was like, okay, I am being guided. And then most recently, doing emotion code work has really been a mind-blowing experience. So that's kind of a long story, but my spiritual journey in a way.
So you said your mother gave you that book, Four Agreements?
Hmm. And she would always like recommend other books to me too, like you need to read this book by Dr. Wayne Dyer, or you need to read this book by Dr. Joe Dispenza, or my mom was really the one planting all these seeds, and it really did help me and guide me along the way. Because my mom's always been into, the metaphysical realm and the, yeah, so it
Andeea,
was really her.
you're giving me faith because I gave that book to my son, and I've given Seven Spiritual Laws by Deepak Chopra. I've given that little mini
Yeah.
book. I don't think either son has read them.
I would teach a whole lecture on that book to my groups because
The
it
Four
touched me so
Agreements.
much.
The
Yeah,
Four
I broke it
Agreements.
down I had a lecture on it because I wanted to give the message so bad, but I knew like I can't count on someone reading a book who's in early recovery. I didn't read the book in early recovery. It sat on my shelf for probably a couple years before I picked it up, year or two. So I was like, I'll just teach it. It's simple enough.
I love
So
that.
I taught it.
When I was an instructor at the School of Natural Nutrition here, we had at the very end of the year, we had one class where the students always had to do a book report, and everybody would push it off to the end of the year. And for some reason, it was the end of the seasons. And so I would end up being that instructor, and I loved it because I got to find out what all the good books were. But Four Agreements was the most popular. So I've heard it presented, and then a couple times I'm like, can I keep your, because they had to write a book report. I'm like, do you mind if I take a copy of that? And
Uh-huh.
it's one of
Awesome.
those, I feel like it's a book that you should go back to every year, every couple years, because it's
Hmm.
so easy to lose the actual Four Agreements. If people don't know the book, it's the Four Agreements. Help me out here. It's
Okay, I
always,
just looked it up. I just looked it up
yeah, you
Yeah.
got them. Okay.
because I feel like now we're talking about this. We're going to have to talk about what the four agreements are. So be impeccable with your word. That for me is really coming online this year. One of my biggest things is to be authentic and be honest and transparent. And I think that kind of gets encompassed in this be impeccable with your word. Because if I'm living with integrity, meaning how I feel on the inside is how I'm living on the outside world, then when you don't have lies or things that you're trying to cover up, right? Like then you can just be your authentic self. You don't have to like, and I truly think that we all deserve love. And if you're not being authentic and if you're not living with integrity, we're not opening up ourselves to be loved, like the true us. And so coming back to that whole love theme, and this is Valentine's week, so I think this is quite appropriate too.
Yeah.
Loving yourself is one of the biggest challenges I think women overcome or,
100%.
try to overcome in their lifetime. And that being impeccable with your word, that for me personally hits home right now is like how I'm trying to live my everyday life. I don't know if you guys have any comments on that
I
agreement.
do. I want to put a quantum spin on this. So
Let's
there's
do
two
that.
things. Yeah, there's two things I think about. So vibrationally, being impeccable with our word, like we're going to vibrate higher, right? And then also, like our words impact our water, as we all know. So,
Yes.
yeah. So that's what my quantum brain goes right there.
I love that. Laura, any thoughts on that?
Nothing more than what you just said. I love it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. What's the second one? It says, don't take anything personally. I think this book that I was telling you guys that I'm reading right now talks about how no one's thinking about you. I try to get this point across to my kids. No one's worried about you, what you're doing. No one's thinking about it. Like maybe in the moment, if you're in front of someone and that's happening and you're being present, but after that, those thoughts are gone and they're on to the next thing. So,
Yes, everybody's in their own little world.
And I think we can just spend so much energy taking everything so personal and become really reactive, and angry and frustrated at other people and hurt. And I think if you just can step back and realize, it's their stuff, it helps bring so much light. Like your light, you can live your life so much lighter. Yeah. So in my spiritual journey, I should mention, about 10 years ago, I took an access consciousness. I got my bars run by somebody, and I took access consciousness courses, and became I took up to a level 4. And so that is the one kind of hands-on modality that I continue to do, and I will never give up. Never say never, but anyway. But I love it because when I run someone's bars, I always give them homework, so that delves me into looking at consciousness and tools and all of this. And B, when I run someone's bars, whatever they release on the table energetically, I release too. So I kind of feel like I float after I run someone's bars. And even this week, I had 2 clients, and one of them, I was teaching them this tool about light and heavy, the whole concept of light and heavy. What is a truth for you will always feel light and lighter, and what is a lie will feel heavier. Yeah. So
That Laura.
ooh,
yeah.
ooh, that was a golden nugget right there.
Total credit to access consciousness, but yeah. And then, okay, so I'll give you another tool. This is so fun. If you don't know this one, it's called Who Does This Belong To? And so,
Yes, I just got chills.
okay, so the example I always give is so Andeea and Oksana, you're off to go to a movie. And Andeea she was rushing. She didn't get dinner. Okay. And so she picks you up, Oksana, and you go, I went to McDonald's because Andeea says, oh my God, no, this isn't accepted to my rule, but I'm really, really starving. I'm just going to get some food. And Oksana, you had dinner. Okay. So then you go into McDonald's, and while you're there, Andea's not in the drive-through. There's a lineup in the drive-through, so you had to go in. So Andea's like, oh, I'll just keep her company. So you go in and you're standing there, and wow, you love you McDonald's French fries. So what the hell? I'm just gonna make Andeea feel better. I'll just have some too. So you order some French fries. She finishes her meal, and then you finish the French fries, and you're sitting. Now you're in the car. You're on the way to the movie, and you're like, I was so excited for tonight. My vibration was so high. I felt so good, and now I just overate, and I feel like my vibration just came down to. And if you could go back into that McDonald's and at that moment ask the question, who does this belong to? You might have picked up that it was Andeea that was starving beside you, or the 40 people inside and the 30 people in the lineup outside, or everybody in the world that, you know, smells McDonald's French fries and wants to eat them. And so this whole idea is if you could go, okay, who does this belong to? And then if it feels light, it's not yours. So you just in your mind go return to center with consciousness. And you just feel better and you don't order the fries and you're like, okay, I'm good to go. Now, if you ask the question, who does this belong to? And it feels heavy, like in your, just kind of in your gut, if it feels heavy, then you've bought a lie. There's a lie in there with this heaviness. And then what you need to do is, it doesn't mean that it's yours. It just means, again, you're the psychic SpongeBob of the universe. You're really sensitive and energetic, and you're picking up all these people's energies around you that aren't yours, but you've bought it as yours. And so it kind of feels heavy. And then the way to get out of that is to just start asking questions. anything like, do I really need to eat this? Or you just start asking questions, and it'll get you out of that energy if you really, really didn't want to eat those French fries.
My God, this is gonna be. I'm gonna start asking, who does this belong to? And I've been doing a ton of sway testing. Like I've been asking
Yes.
my body simple things. Like I will hold. I'm trying to figure out what grains my body agrees with. So I'll hold the grain, and then I'll ask my body if it likes it or not, and it'll tell. I'll sway back if it's a no and forward if it's a yes. And it just, oh my gosh, that is I'm gonna start being really mindful of that question, Laura, as I do when I do sway testing. Because yeah, I love sway testing. It's like being able to ask my higher power, my body, because our higher power is within us, right? So it's being able to ask your subconscious mind too, because you otherwise can't tap into that.
And
So
I
it's
know, and then you can, like, your knowledge may tell you oatmeal. No, this I don't, it's maybe sprayed with this chemical, or it's a grain, it's heavier, I should be eating this other. But then, like you were telling me that you've been testing and
I
your
love
body seems to
oatmeal,
want.
Oksana. I love oatmeal. I love the texture in my mouth,
Oh
but
no. No,
I
I'm
know
just
that
joking.
it's not good, right? I know I shouldn't be having it. And you know what? I asked my body if oatmeal served me, and guess what it said? No. But guess what does serve me? Whole raw oat groats,
Mm.
which are oats that just haven't been rolled. It's
Right.
basically not went through the process, right? So technically rolled oats are a processed food because they've went through a process. And my body said yes to whole raw oat groats, which taste the same. They're just not rolled flat. So my body doesn't like that, like the processing is what I gathered. But anyway, yeah, I had to go deep with that because I was like, even yeah, I don't know. This could be argued, I guess, but even the even the non-GMO oatmeal, like
I know,
it's
right?
gonna probably have glyphosate. So, I had to like, I had to let go of it. But yeah, it's a simple test,
But in the end,
simple muscle test.
if you love that oatmeal and it brings you that much joy, and high vibration, the damage it may do to your,
We'd
to
love
whatever
to.
your, yeah, yeah,
Boy, good thing about the end of this story is that I do get to enjoy it in its whole form, right? I get
Mhm.
to enjoy
Amazing.
it in its
Yes.
whole form. I just won't enjoy it anymore in the form that I've traditionally always loved, right? And I'm okay with that. Like, but yeah, it brings me joy. So I wanted to figure out like, well, what grains this Laura, that's actually how I went down that wormhole is because I was like, okay, all of a sudden I want oatmeal. What is my body telling me? Like my body's preparing right now I haven't ate any sugar and I'm about to quit processed flours of any kind. So that's a big ask because I'm just full disclosure, everyone. I'm a food addict and I'm trying to like really hunker down and get down to the bottom of it because it's not always an active thing in my life, but I know enough now how to sort it out, and so I got to just do it. I got to just pull the trigger and just do the things that I know I need to do. And so that's kind of why it's been coming up in my energy. Like what foods does my body love? And sway testing is a wonderful way to ask your body if you're ever questioning something. But I guess you could also apply Laura's light and heavy to that.
Mhm.
Love
Does it
that.
make me feel light or does it make me feel heavy?
Yes, yeah,
A processed food that you
yeah,
love probably makes you feel heavy.
I
And
know.
there might be a little guilt in there with that.
That's the thing, is
Feel
the
heavy.
guilt, the heaviness, right? I know, that's true, right? Yeah.
Because, we're not perfect. I totally have things that I used to really, really love that I know that don't serve me. But I feel like when I do the sway test, it's like this official, like, okay, I finally asked my body, I just never had this tool in my toolbox before. So now I'm using it. And
Mhm.
it's as simple as that. You live and you learn.
Well, Andeea, you're not alone with food addiction. I struggle, as you know, with chocolate and sugar, and I honestly feel better with both of those out of my life. And so, yeah, I think we're both being called to a little bit of a new hero's journey to raise.
But
Yeah.
I also want to be an example for the people that I help, right? And I want them to know, hey, this didn't happen overnight. All the practices and the things that I do today, that did not just happen. That was 6 years in the more than 6 years now in the making of me. And then if you take it in the perspective of like being addicted to a chemical like heroin or methamphetamine or something like that, like that's a 17-year journey to get me to where I'm like addressing my food addiction. Like, so just if anybody's listening to this and you're in early recovery and you're like, well, I'm really craving the sugar, and like, yeah, I know you are craving it. And so if
Yes.
that is what, like, you do what you need to do for yourself to get you through the next thing. Like, if that is going to prevent you from going out and using,
Yes.
then like just stay on the right side of the soil. That's their goal here. And, do what you need to do, and it will come to you in the right time of your life to quit whatever is not serving you,
And
you
what
know?
I just got a message and it said, people don't have faults, they have needs. That just came to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
What
that.
was it in your life at that time, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. I know for me, Andeea knows this, but I've somehow developed this pattern. This is the cueing for wanting chocolate, is when my husband leaves. And, I don't know where that goes back to. Does it go back to moving a lot in the military? My mom
It's your
always making
trigger. It's a
Yeah.
trigger.
it is my trigger. And so
Yeah.
we have this thing. He hides the chocolate. And then it's like, oh, and then I go on,
It's
it
Easter.
turns into Easter, right? On the
Try
Easter,
to find it.
find where the Easter bunny hid the chocolate. It's like fun.
That's
And then I
funny.
find it and then it's like, ooh, do I eat it or do I put it in the freezer? Or I don't like cold chocolate. And that's usually the smartest decision is go hide it. And then when he comes back, I go to the freezer and I bring it back. But I've like eaten chocolate that I've replaced his chocolate with. And he's like, are you kidding me? You ate the chocolate like that you gifted me because you ate my last. And it's a thing. Like I can have a little piece one day and I'm fine. And the next day but the next day I'm kind of wanting it. And then the third day I want more. Then it just
It
down.
cycles. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been really interesting to watch the pattern, and yeah, both Andy and I have been learning more about this, just this idea of, you start to obsess and it's just like you're thinking, and it's taking you away from the moment because you're like, oh, I think I'd like that. Should I, and
It
shouldn't I? And it
does.
becomes like a decision fatigue going on in your brain while you're trying to focus on
Yeah.
something else. And
So I'm
it's heavy.
developing, yeah, I'm developing this quantum keto class right now. And what what was really transformative for me was stop looking for pleasure in food. And I grew up in a super abusive household. And for me, my mom would make it up to us by like, I'll take you out to eat. So there was always, and we always thought that was a treat. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, then to kind of make up for the wrong, I'm going to like use food. And so that became a trigger for me as well. And so, okay, now anytime I want to use food for pleasure, I use my husband instead. Right?
That is
Food's
a good
supposed to
fix.
sustain us, right?
Yeah.
We're not supposed to look for pleasure in that. And so that mind shift for me has specifically really, really helped me in the past year, I would say.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
good to hear.
Well, yeah, it's like with addiction, it doesn't matter, or obsession or what have you, no matter what your DOC is, your drug of choice or your drug of no choice, however you want to word that, or your behavior. So it might be sex, gambling, shopping, internet, social media, whatever. We all have the same drug of choice in common, and that is more. We will always want more of it.
Yes.
So if you are like questioning, like, am I addicted to something? Like, is this really an addiction? We, blue light specifically is addictive by design, and we're inundated with it all over the place, So it just makes me start to think like, just there's this gene component, right? Like if you have the gene of addiction, maybe addiction doesn't run in your family, maybe it does, or whatever. I don't even really think that matters much anymore. Like our environment matters so much more. And a lot of people are out there struggling, or maybe they know someone who had an overdose, or someone in their family who's really, really struggling. And there's a lot of shame around addiction when it has to do with actual like street drugs or, things that can kill somebody, right? Or prone to overdosing or things like that. Basically anything that wreaks havoc on the relationships in your life. There's a lot of shame the family carries too.
Mm.
So if they have an addiction, let's say it's something like gambling or shopping or chocolate or whatever it is, they have a lot of shame in even talking about it. It's just, nope, I don't have addiction. That nope, I've never had a problem with that. I don't drink too much. Well, it might not be in that realm of substance use, but it might be in another realm. So you can ask yourself, well, do I continue to want more? Am I obsessing over this? And I'm not asking you to self-diagnose yourself. I'm just saying, just start to ask yourself questions like, does this serve me? Is it bringing me joy? Because most certainly, if you use Laura's tactic here, the light and heavy, if it feels really heavy, like we say in the program, maybe you need to drop the rock.
Drop them.
You don't need to carry it around anymore. So I don't know. That just came to me.
And also, like, is this action that I'm doing, is that the person I want to be? Like, so for me, I know that I don't want to relive 40 years of the same year for the rest of my life, right? And so I want it, the Oksana that's going to be at the end of 2025 is going to be a much more healed version of Oksana. It's going to be a much healthier version of Oksana. It's going to be a much more educated person of Oksana because I have all these goals that I've set for myself. And so is the action that I'm taking right now, does that align with the person that I want to be at the end of this year with all the goals that I've set in place for?
I've started group coaching. We were celebrating today. It's the end of 1 month, and it's just a small group of ladies. But oh man, it's a journey. We're doing well. Andeea, I could credit you. When we first met, you told me about Atomic Habits, and I bought the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I started, got this Excel spreadsheet all set up. Anyway, we're doing Atomic Habits and adding them in, and it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's so fun to see what they're doing. But holy cow, has my journey gone exponential in growth.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled with, like, even my sleep has improved dramatically because I'm really doing a lot of the quantum. I'm making sure I get a lot more of the quantum practices in because now I get a little dopamine hit when I walk by my door because the list is there. And
Good.
yeah, and I check mark, oh, I saw solar noon today, and oh, I definitely saw sunrise, but or I fit in sunset because sometimes I miss sunset, and just little tiny things, but that you get a little score at the end of the day,
I
and
love that.
yeah, I'm enjoying
And
that.
I love Atomic Habits. That is why I think I've been able to, well, habit stack basically. I've
Habits.
been habit stacking for a long time. And so then you get to this point, and then when you're sharing with someone all the things you do, they're like overwhelmed. And it's like, like I started with doing one thing.
Yes.
And because that's what we all have to start with. And it has to be something that you're willing to change. Are you in the right stage of change to even do that thing? Because certainly don't force it, because then you're wasting your time. Right?
Well, and as people, we make like what, 30 to 50,000 decisions a day, right? And so how do we shortcut? We create these little shortcuts. They're called habits. I always tell people, I'm like, you got to revisit those shortcuts. The shortcuts that you had when you were 18 are different than when you're 28 versus when you're 38. Like, you have to revisit the habits that you've built. And your brain, we're in such a state of overwhelm, like with all the lights, all the, flashing, like your phone, like everything. It's like, we got to revisit these habits because sometimes we got to make a different decision, right? Depending on where we want to be.
And one insight I've had recently tying in with that is that the more you can do in the morning, like even before
Mm.
breakfast, I can habit stack so many and get a bunch of them done because as the day goes on, you get decision fatigue and the noise, like you talked about the blue light, but also the non-native EMFs. It just that I find, and then there's emails and people's all their expectations of you and just the to-do list, and it's all like noise, and all of a sudden it's all drowned out, and all the things that Laura wanted to do in this particular day just gone out the window. So
Yes.
if I can do a few of them key in the morning, that really I find is really moving the needle.
I just saw a video last night and I thought it was so great. And it was two little boys and two buckets, and they had 10 balls evenly spaced. And the one boy, when they started, the horn, blew the horn or whatever, the one boy started with the ball closest to the bucket, put that one in, went to the next one, started with the things closest. And the other boy went all the way to the end and grabbed the last one at the end, brought that one, then went to the second to last one, right? Who do you guys think won? The one that started with the hardest tasks or the one who started with the easiest tasks?
Artist.
Yes.
Yes.
It was the
Yes.
hardest.
Yes, he won. He got all his balls in first. And I was like, man, again, just an amazing visual representation of start with the things you have prioritized first, the hardest things or the things that like your self-care, right? A lot of people, they get up, they start going, and then before they know it, they don't get their self-care in, right? So for
And
me,
yeah.
yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just self-care can also be, you guys know the term eating your frog? To eat your frog first. Okay, it's
Yeah.
your frog is the one task that has to get done in that day for it to be a successful day. And so a lot of us will like this, I have a tendency to put off the frog because I want to clear the noise. I want to get all the little distractions. I want to clean my
Yes.
desk. I want to have everything perfect
Want
and then I
everything
can
perfect.
what's that?
Perfection.
Perfection, right? And my husband, opposite. He's a test pilot, fighter pilot. He gets his frog done by 9 o'clock every morning, I find it. And then he's done and he's like watching TV or he's going off for a hike, he's playing because he knows he's done the most important thing and he's super efficient. But I think some of that self-love can be in that is get your is and I have it on the list. Eat your frog before 12 p.m. is what I've got it right now. It's still a work in progress. I haven't mastered this one yet.
So I just want to be careful of your guys' time because I know we're bumping up to a time limit here, but I do just want to mention the other two agreements, which is don't make assumptions and always do your best. I guess we'll kind of let's end on those. Do you guys have any comments on those other? And it's a great book and it's such a quick read, you guys. It's a beautiful book. Go out and get it. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on don't make assumptions and always do your best?
Well, don't make assumptions has really served me because I used to make assumptions like the littlest things. And I actually didn't notice until this was put into my awareness. So if you're listening to this and you've never heard of the four agreements, just the four agreements being in your awareness today, you're going to start noticing yourself taking things personally. You're going to start noticing when you're not impeccable with your word. You're going to start noticing when you're making an assumption, and you're going to start noticing when you're not doing your best. They are in your awareness now. So, yeah, that's what comes to me. I mean, I think the always do your best is one of the ones for me anyway. It came easy, not taking things personally and not making assumptions. Like I'm not perfect. That still will come up, but when it does come up, I notice it. I'm also, my significant other is also a therapist, so we have a lot of conversations around like when I'm triggered or I trigger him, he triggers me, like we have a conversation around it and we're not reactive at each other because we, try to always be non-judgmental and love each other instead of fighting because there was a time where we would fight and then we would be like, listen, this is just me being triggered and actually has nothing to do with what you said and blah, 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 blah. And then it gets like done in like a couple minutes and we move on. So yeah, I guess with that, I would say also gift it to your Valentine. I don't know.
Would just add two things. One is just on the always do your best. It's been a long time since I've read the book, and you're motivating me to read it again. I'll go down and get the one from my son that's sitting on the shelf, collecting dust. You have to know what, when, the word, when your best is too much, right? Like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good, and your
Hmm.
best can be pretty good. It doesn't have to be, become a perfectionist, which I've struggled with. And the other thing I would add is the author has another book called The Mastery of Love. And it is something, and that's the book you could read around
Yeah.
Valentine's. It's beautiful, this book. I never bought it. I listened to it on Audible.
And there's also a fifth agreement.
Is that written by his son?
No, I think
It
it's him.
is. I think it's
What's
him
his
and
son?
his son. I think they wrote it together. I can't remember now, but yeah, I think
Oh,
that's
interesting. I
right.
didn't know that. Cool.
I love this so much. What a fun conversation, right? Thank you, ladies. That was amazing. I'd love to, um, yeah, why don't you guys just tell the audience where they can find you, how they can follow you, and tell us about your business and what it is you do and how you help people too.
Yeah, you want to go first, Laura?
Sure. So Laura Kissmann Wellness is my business. If you add a .com to that, you'll know my website. What do? I call myself a quantum nutritionist because I've put together the quantum biology and the holistic nutrition. So I do one-on-one coaching, and I do now started the group coaching as of a month ago. So those are both what I call quantum health coaching. So it's looking at food, it's looking at your health, your lifestyle, and I also test homes for non-native electromagnetic frequencies. I'm like the Ghostbuster that goes in with all these meters. I'm not a building biologist. I wish I could take that course, and I just haven't yet. But I think I bring a lot of value, and I have a really big passion for women and empowering women to know what all this technology does and how we can mitigate it, because we're the keepers of the home. I think the health of the family, and especially, with our kids. So do that. And then I do the Access Consciousness bars, so people come to my house, and I also have a number of red light therapy modalities. So it's a minimal part of, but I will share that with my clients that come see me. And I have a podcast, but I'll leave that. We'll do that at the end. The exciting podcast. I think I've covered most of it. But I've taught a lot of workshops, built a lot of workshops. I need to get them for sale. I have a whole quantum health series. I've built 10, and of like a big piece of that. I have 10 of them, and then I have 4 on electromagnetic radiation and how to mitigate it. So yeah, really, that was a big rabbit hole that I went down. And so yeah, that's a work. I'm hoping 2025 to conquer that at some point. I also trained as a homeopath. I have not brought that into my business yet. I feel like it's just one too many things at the moment, and I've got enough on my plate. And I think the universe showed me with my leg break last year that I needed to slow down. And I'm not saying that won't become a part of my business, but the knowledge I gained was so incredible in the journey. So yeah, that sums it up.
Awesome. So I can pretty much be found. Andeea Rae is everything. AndeeaRae.com is my website. Andeea Rae on Instagram. My blog is called Quantum Pages, so I have a Instagram on that's the Quantum Pages. Let's see. I have a podcast called Quantum Recovery, and it's basically small lessons for people who want to learn about quantum biology, and just in like small doses, if you will. And that kind of is also where any coaching lessons, things like that. And I do work with people, and you can just contact me if you want to work with me. But I'm a licensed addiction counselor and a board certified applied quantum biology practitioner. And then I was gonna say, and basically I do have a course, but I am working on the course that I have is Quantum Recovery Reset, and that is all about the light piece. But the next level I'm going up here is to share about the leptin story with the people in recovery, because I have a hunch that if you are recovering, then you are actually leptin resistant. And so that is a really important message that I want to get out to the community. So, and then Laura and I together have a podcast, hence why we are guests together today on Oksana's podcast, and it's called Quantum Healthy. And there we demystify the quantum practices and principles and break it all down for you by interviewing scientists and researchers and people who are in this quantum biology space, so you can learn from them, straight from their mouths, instead of just us.
And in the process, we are just drinking in so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's been impactful on our own lives, on how we coach, and it's been a journey in itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Including,
a great podcast, you guys. It's
thank
amazing.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, we're excited to have your episode come out in a few weeks too, Oksana.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'd like to end this episode with asking you, what does love mean to you?
Am I going first?
You want to
You
go?
go
Well, I can go. It doesn't matter.
first, yeah.
So I knew you were going to ask this, Oksana. So I think that all of us are striving for love deep down. And I also think it is the highest vibration frequency that we can vibrate on, like higher than self-actualization. So that, and at the bottom of everything, like that, like when we peel back the onion of like our fears, and like when we're processing things and we break things down, like that's what we want, is we want love. And love to me, really, it's, there are no conditions. It is connection. It is, and it most certainly is, I have to love myself first before I can give that love out. So I work on that all the time, loving myself, because it's not perfect every single day, but I I really can say, I don't know if it's it's the fact that I'm 46 now, or, but I was not nice to myself when I was young. I was so mean to myself. And now I love myself, and most certainly love the little girl inside that was always hurt, and then the one that always tries to protect me. And I gave them different jobs to do so I can love myself now.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Well, hard act to follow. I didn't know you were going to ask this question, so I defer to Zach Bush. I'll start with, he likes to look at love as, he likes to use the word beauty, and to find the, to find the beauty in all things. And I would say what came up right first, like just my own thought, was just being your highest self. And it's very similar, I guess, to what Andeea said, with that then brings a high vibration. But, and if I want to go further with it, in terms of self-love, I did teach a couple workshops on self-love, which was, I hadn't really thought about that a few years ago. And so I was really pushing myself to go, Laura, you probably need to put more self-love in your life. So I built these workshops to try and teach other women. And I really think, if you want to bring the quantum into it, it's being quantum healthy. It's being quantum coherent. It's quantum entangling with other people and having that, that beautiful connection, and quantum entangling with nature. Because when we're in sync with nature, sync with the sun, all the rhythms of nature, we call ourselves humans, but I think we are animals, and we have so much similar with animals. And we've made this distinction that we should live indoors. And now we've brought in all these technologies. And I think, just if we can get ourselves back into nature, see the beauty of nature, we will become more quantum coherent, and quantum entangled with everything around us, and be our highest selves in the process.
Beautiful. Thank you, ladies, so much. This was a great conversation.
Well, thank you for having us.
My heart's
This was
full.
awesome. I'm
And
I'm
thank
just can go about my day now. Like, I'm vibrating very high. I love it.
It's like
I
you had
love
your
it.
cars run. You're gonna be floating all day now. We all will.
And thanks everyone out there for listening. And as always, you are loved. Have a good day.